So next, what we want to do is talk about 6 things that you can and should be doing to secure your online, personal data safety. How to better not get hacked, as it was. So the first thing, and it's entirely easy to do, is to use multi-factor authentication. If you use iCloud, if you use Gmail, if you use Facebook, if you use Twitter, etc., all of these have, it's either called two-factor authentication or multi-factor authentication. And what essentially that does is give another layer of protection to everything that you're doing. So, for instance, I get a text message with a code for some of my multi-factor authenticated accounts. For other accounts like Gmail, I actually have it so that when I sign in on the web, I have to say yes on one of my phones in order for me to actually get through. And is it sometimes a pain? Yeah, potentially. There's times where I can't get a cell signal and I'm waiting on that. But for the most part, it's dead simple to do. And the benefit is if somebody even has your password, they would also need to have access to your physical device, which means you're in pretty deep stuff to begin with. So multi-factor works great. And as a matter of fact, Adobe and Microsoft are moving away from passwords entirely, where when you try to sign in, it just says, hey, pick up on your phone and say yes. And that's much easier, much less error prone, and much less prone to you forgetting your device, right? So multi-factor authentication or device authentication is certainly one of the best things that you can do to really secure your data privacy. The next one that goes hand in hand with this is to use a password manager. There are tools like LastPass, 1Password, Dashlane. There's a whole bunch of them that you can use. For every site, it will suggest a gruelingly difficult password, one that you yourself don't know. But once you authenticate to get into your password manager, it fills that stuff in for you. For my advice, I actually suggest use the tools that are already available to you. If you are on an iOS or a Mac, use Safari. It has a built-in password manager. As long as you don't forget your default password for your Mac or for your iCloud account, you can get your passwords and your usernames. It's fantastic. Actually, Microsoft Edge is my next favorite password manager because you can essentially do everything Google Chrome would allow you to do, but you can do it in a less shifty way with essentially Microsoft's branded version of Chrome, which is pretty great. Chrome has its own password manager, and I will say that absolutely I do have some of my passwords and usernames for accounts that actually I use for here at work go through Chrome because it's so convenient with Google Docs and things of that nature. So you don't have to have a paid-for solution. They don't have to be crazy complicated. It can be as easy as allowing your browser to be your password manager. And you can do that with Safari, Edge, Chrome, Firefox. It really doesn't matter. Another thing to do to keep yourself safe online is recognize kind of a pattern of behavior that we would see from a phishing attack, and that would be for anything that asks you to enter in your username or password, double check with the URL to make sure that it's a good one. Phishing scams are great at looking like the service that they're supposed to look like. So I pay for Disney Plus. I'm not a huge Disney Plus watcher, but the little man, the sick little man, is huge into the Disney stuff. So, okay, great. And literally the day after I signed up for it, I started getting phishing attacks from, whoever it was from, right? From bots, from whatever, that were looking to get some of my login credential information. And the website absolutely positively, or the email rather, absolutely positively looked like a Disney email. And I actually went so far as to click and hold, so I was opening it on my iPad, but you can do this on a desktop or a laptop as well, is just to hover over the URL. So if it says, click here, it's a button someplace, and it's going to be a URL. It's going to take you to someplace on the web. If you tap and hold on a device, or if you hover over it on a desktop or a laptop, you'll actually see the URL. And if it ain't Disney, you're not clicking on that. So I have occasionally gotten a Google password phishing attack, or Microsoft. We get them actually here at RVC more than occasionally, and they look like the genuine article, and it is difficult to not click on that, even for people who know better, who know about the kind of social engineering that goes into getting you to click on links like that in emails. But do yourself a favor. It's very, very simple to look at the URL before you go through, and if it's not the genuine article, don't use that link. Throw the message away. Sign in through the regular means. You'll get a notice with whatever if it was a genuine article email, you'll get whatever the message is when you sign into your account. And the good news is you won't have given your login credentials to someplace out there in the internet in the lunatic fringe. So once we move past that, one of the most dead simple things you can do that nobody does is keep everything up to date. So just this week, as a shameless plug for our rvccis.info podcast, we mentioned 3 companies, the big 3, Apple, Microsoft, Google. All 3 of them had critical security patches and updates that had to be pushed out this week because of 3 different kinds of horrible, they're called 0 day. So you don't have to do anything to get them. It's an attack that can be levied against you very, very easily. And they all 3 of them companies sent out critical updates. So if you have an iOS or a Mac, go do the system update. If you have Microsoft Office, which, spoiler alert, all of us have Microsoft Update, go update Microsoft Office via Microsoft Update. If you use Chrome, probably you do, go and update Chrome because it was a V8, their rendering engine and JavaScript engine attack. So do keep things up to date. I actually have a running schedule. It's just a convention that updates come out on Tuesday. They destroy computers Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and by Friday that patch is usually figured out. So on Fridays I go through and I update all of my stuff because they've worked the bugs out on some other poor SOB who did the immediate update on Tuesday afternoon or whenever that update happened to drop. One of the things, the last thing here we'll talk about, and one of the things that's difficult to point to, but we do actually have a video series on it later down the line when we talk about data, is encrypting everything. If you have a Chromebook, if you have a Mac device, so an iOS or a Mac, or if you have a Windows device, so PC, you can by default encrypt everything, which adds an extra layer of protection to all of your documents, to all of your personal identifiable information, etc. And usually it's dead simple to recover. So we actually have a video on that coming out later down the line when we talk about data and data sciences in chapter, I want to say it's chapter 8. So stay tuned to that. So 6 quick things that you can do to absolutely minimize and reduce your risk signature on the internet. They are all of them easy enough to follow. You can actually, right below this video, I have a link to an article that you can walk through on them, and it is absolutely worth your investment to securing your personal identifiable internet information.